What's up, everybody? Welcome to the late night live stream week 10 edition. I'm Ben Hover, joined here by Joey Carrion. Look, man, shout out to everybody here in the chat. There was a good chance we were going to move the stream time this week. We were thinking about going to noon because, Joey's birthday was on Wednesday, right? We might have gone out to celebrate. And I was like, yo, we should go out and celebrate. You just turned 25. But Joey looked at me dead in the face and said, we can't, bro. We need to go and give the people the picks. They need the cash game construction. They need the leverage. They need the stacks.
Especially this week.
Shots. Exactly. So
especially this might be the hardest week of the season.
I think it is.
So if you're tuned in and you want to win cash games, I mean, you got to listen to this advice.
You must.
In my opinion, this is the hardest cash game week of the year. There's not a ton of value on this slate. There's not a ton of injuries, although something may be opening up with Zeke and Tony Pollard, depending if Zeke is out for this week. What up, Tristan? Birthday narrative. Yeah, Birthday narrative for me. That means I'm banking a tournament.
I hope so.
So
25 to 25 mil?
Sheesh. One can only hope. But yeah, either way, tough week. So I say we get right into it. Thank you guys. Yeah, birthday was on Wednesday. But just been vibing. But yeah,
DraftKings
week 10.
A lot of money to be made. Yeah, quarterback position, Joey. I think the conversation this week starts at 6,500 with Justin Fields, right?
I mean, in cash games, I think Justin Fields is the play easily once again this week. The rushing upside is just extremely high at this point in the season. We talked about how they switched play callers. They started to center the offense around Justin Fields' strength. And his biggest strength right now with the context of the team is obviously his rushing ability. And he's scored rushing touchdowns, as you could see, in 3 straight games. I think 6,500 is a fair price. I don't think at this price he's a lock, just because I think there is still a ton of systemic risk with the Bears offense in general. And he's just been really, really efficient, even through the air. As you could see, 3 touchdowns on 28 attempts, 2 touchdowns on 23 attempts. So I don't think he's a lock by any stretch, but on this slate with the little to no value that we have, I don't think you can play Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in cash this week. I think Justin Fields is the guy, but like I said, I don't think he's a lock. How do you feel about Justin Fields? Yeah, Leaf Layman.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky, I got put on so hard at that Khalif Raymond play last week. GG's on that. Yeah, I mean, I think Justin Fields, I think you have to play him in cash this week. Mahomes is a phenomenal play at 7,900, but we just don't have the value, right? Like if we're trying to pay up a bit at running back and we're not trying to scrape the absolute bottom of the barrel at wide receiver, I think it just makes sense. And with the rushing floor being just so high with Justin Fields, 1 game this season with under 8 rush attempts, 8+ in every other game, it's just, I love Justin Fields in this spot. He gets a home matchup against one of the worst defenses in the league, in the Detroit Lions. Just such a smash spot for Justin Fields this week. Really strong team total for the Bears as well. I don't think we need to really think too much there. I'm kind of feeling a Bears letdown this week. I don't know, Houston.
I think he is a Bears fan.
Yeah, I mean, so he's got the insight, right? But I could see it, and I think Mahomes is a good play on the surface. You mentioned Josh Allen, right? And that's kind of the big piece of news. The thing that's really shifted the slate, I think, is that Josh Allen is likely to play in this game. That's not what it was looking like early in the week, but they didn't activate Matt Barkley to the active roster. Ian Rappaport said that he is trending towards playing in this spot. What do you think about Josh Allen in terms of DFS this week?
I mean, I think you have to play some Josh Allen,
Right.
especially in tournaments. Like we've been saying, Justin Fields is the cash game quarterback. So, I mean, we could just move on from that. 8,600, obviously, his steepest price tag of the year, and he is dealing with that elbow injury. But if the Bills have enough confidence to start him, start their star quarterback, where it'd probably be more beneficial for him to rest if it was very serious, especially thinking long term and Super Bowl aspirations this year. This is kind of like a meaningless game to have him go out there, in my opinion.
I disagree with that. And the reason why is because, they're in a three-way tie essentially in the division. They have 6 wins, Jets have 6 wins, Dolphins have 6 wins.
Patriots
It's like,
have 5. Don't
yeah,
forget the Patriots.
no, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to forget your boys there. But yeah, it's like this is such a tight division. If it was a different scenario, right, where if it was like the Vikings, for instance, where they have such a commanding lead of their division, I think they probably would lean towards resting him. But I think the way they're looking at this is like, they need every game in this spot. And I don't know, maybe they just don't trust what Case Keenum does in terms of the ability to win. But I mean, I just find this really surprising because like Josh Allen is this entire franchise right now, right? So I they must have some level of confidence in him in this spot, or else they wouldn't trot him out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because in my opinion, there still would be no reason to, because I mean you're competing with the Jets and the Patriots. I mean, that's 2 of the 3 teams that they're competing with. The Dolphins are obviously contenders. So I guess it is kind of an important game, but I don't really think it is to them. But if he's good enough to start, he's good enough to be played on DraftKings, in my opinion.
Agreed.
He's still projecting as, the highest point quarterback this week, with a projection over 26 points, even baking in some injury risk. The matchup is obviously great. You have Stephon Diggs' revenge narrative. And the Bills' offense, just in general, has been kind of underperforming these last few weeks. So this could be a nice bounce back spot at home against a very beatable Minnesota Vikings defense. So definitely don't mind Josh Allen this week, but it's just hard to play these expensive quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's just hard to build a lineup that you're comfortable with. And that's really the story of the slate, just because there are no clear-cut, smash mid-range running backs this week. There's no good value at wide receiver. Projections, there's only 4 positive wide receiver values on this entire slate. And there's like 100 wide receivers. There's 4 positive values. That's how bad this slate is. So good luck trying to build a lineup, paying up to Josh Allen and, stacking him with Diggs or something like that.
Right. And the positive values are all like pretty much 7K or above. So you're just like really, really starved for quality value at the wide receiver position. Like a lot of people will play DPJ, people will play Mac Hollins, but it's just like there's so much downside, I think, to those picks. Yeah, Ricky says wide receiver feels easy. I don't feel that way at all. Interested as to why he thinks that. But all right, so Josh Allen for tournaments, as a long shot, you're going to get him at depressed ownership in this
1%.
spot. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a great spot to try and attack him in tournaments. Maybe even, I mean, can you single stack Josh in this spot, or do you have to double at that price tag?
I mean, you could definitely single stack Josh Allen, just because he does have a ton of rushing upside, as we see here, 9 for 86 and 2. And I think, honestly, maybe projections are, bumping his rushing floor a little bit.
Yeah.
In this spot, what if, the Bills let him run instead of 9 times, like 13 or 14 times? So I think the rushing upside is a little bit higher, and then his obviously every touchdown flows through Josh Allen, so the touchdown upside is still extremely high. I think Josh Allen is, a fine play at 1%. It's just how can you build a lineup that you actually feel comfortable with, and then when you sit and look at that lineup, you're gonna look at it and be like, this is not winning a tournament. That's how I would feel if I have a Josh Allen lineup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, I think that Patrick Mahomes is definitely in the conversation this week. He'll probably be the second highest owned quarterback behind Justin Fields. Chiefs have a really high implied team total this week, 30.25. Next closest on the slate is 26.5 with the Dolphins. So very sizable expectation here for what the Chiefs are going to do against Jacksonville. Makes a lot of sense. They should completely roll in this game. Obviously, we're not going to get another 68 passing attempts out of Patrick Mahomes, the third most in NFL history. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a great spot. Mecole Hardman is out, which, I mean, in terms of the team, I think it makes MVS a much better play at 4,100. Juju is going to be very popular this week at 6K. Kelsey is obviously the main stacking partner, but how do you feel about Mahomes at 7,900 this week playing into middling ownership?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Mahomes is the pay up quarterback option. And, I would prefer Mahomes to Josh Allen because of price and because of stackability. I think that you could stack him with Juju, who is 6K even. We'll obviously talk about Juju when we get to wide receivers. Ricky said Juju season in the chat. Yep. You got MVS, who's cheap, and you have Kadarius Toney, who I think comes in and takes those Mecole Hardman snaps. And so you have two cheap options, and you have a mid range option in Juju. And then obviously you still have Kelsey if you want to pay up. So I think just stacking Mahomes is easier this week. He's cheaper than Josh Allen, and he's not dealing with an elbow injury. And the Chiefs literally do not want to run the ball. I mean, watch a Chiefs game and get back to me.
Yeah.
I mean, CEH just sucks. Jerick McKinnon is old, and Isaiah Pacheco is, a 7th round rookie who can't hit the hole clearly. So,
yeah, no, I mean, why not just put it in Mahomes' hands? It makes a ton of sense. Love Mahomes here. So I think that, those are like the top tier plays, but if we're getting off the board at quarterback, what's piquing your interest if you're trying to get a little crazy in tournaments? What's up, Josh?
What's up, Josh? I mean, god damn, this is a terrible quarterback slate. I was very excited to run Case Keenum in tournaments at 5K just because he would have been the value quarterback option. Trevor Lawrence is interesting just for the game environment and the potential shootout, but we talked about it on the pod, and I'm just going to repeat myself here. The Jaguars just don't have the players, in my opinion, to participate in shootouts or to speed the game up besides Travis Etienne, right? And that would directly correlate against Trevor Lawrence. So it's hard to play Trevor Lawrence when Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and Marvin Jones and Evan Ingram and all these skill position players, they literally just provide no upside and no big plays. It's that simple. So it's hard to envision a game in which Trevor Lawrence hits his ceiling. But if there is one, it's definitely this one, right? I think the game that everybody should target is the Dolphins-Browns game. I think that game has the best chance of shooting out. Jacoby Brissett at 5,400, I think, is disgusting, but it's interesting this week going up against a banged-up Dolphins secondary with some stackable options, some cheap options, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Harrison Bryant is 2,700. We'll talk about him. Amari Cooper is obviously great. So I think that's the game that I kind of want to condense on in tournaments and just be overweight the field on that game.
We do have Njoku confirmed out, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm glad you brought up Brissett. I was about to say, I mean, I want to get real gross with it and play a little Jacoby Brissett because, Amari Cooper is looking like a really, really strong play this week. He'll have middling ownership, maybe 10 to 15%, maybe closer to 10. Donovan Peoples-Jones going to be one of the chalkiest wide receivers on the slate, looking like he'll be 20+%. And Jacoby's sitting there with like a 3% projection in ownership. So everybody's going to play the receivers. Nobody wants to play Jacoby. Obviously, it's nasty, but I do agree with you that this game has a ton of shootout potential, and it's all going to come down to whether or not Jacoby and this Browns, offense is able to match what the Dolphins do. But it gets you really down there in price, like especially if you're playing something like Jacoby Cooper DPJ. That's a really cheap double stack that allows you to play Tyreek Hill on the other side, who's priced all the way up at 9,100, and then still fit in some really strong plays around that. So, I mean, I kind of like the Browns double. It's absolutely nasty. And, will it hit? Probably not, but there's a chance. There's a chance.
Yeah, Josh brings up a good point. There's 7 games sitting around 30 to 35 degrees. Yeah, this is definitely the point of the season where, weather is going to start becoming a factor for sure. And it could definitely be a lower scoring week. And I think it's just going to be a lower scoring week in general, just with some of the bad game environments and then with the pricing of the slate. So I don't think it's going to take that much to cash unless these chalk players just absolutely go off, which is definitely in the range for sure. But Jacoby, I mean, is interesting. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't go below Jacoby. I know projections kind of like John Wolford because Matthew Stafford, I think, is confirmed out at this point, or
Stop it.
damn near out.
We're not playing.
I said projections like him. I didn't say I like him. Projections like John Wolford. You got Colt McCoy, who's probably going to start. So that game goes from Matthew Stafford and versus Kyler Murray to John Wolford versus Colt McCoy. Yeah, no chance I'm playing anybody on either side. Sam Ellinger, 5K once again could start. Matt Ryan, I think, is actually in play. Maybe if he starts, he's not starting, right?
No.
Okay, maybe he's not in play, but
probably not as the backup.
I mean, if you're looking at projections, Josh Allen is the clear-cut tournament play at quarterback. And then my favorite long shot would be Jacoby Brissett.
Yep. And Tua, obviously, for the Dolphins is a really strong play week in and week out. Jared Goff, I think you can play if you want to, but we haven't seen a ceiling in quite some time. But Bears defense is certainly beatable. And, maybe Fields at this point is able to push. All right. I think that about sums it up at running back. We can transition here to running back. And I mean, God, running back is tough this week, man. We kind of don't have the smash lock button 6K tier that we've had, week in and week out. Dameon Pierce, though, 6,300 is looking like he is going to be one of the best plays on the slate, most likely the highest owned running back on the slate. The workload is just so bankable. I mean, Houston on the road in this spot against the Giants, but coming off of 10 days of rest. I think that we know what we're going to see whenever the Houston Texans are on the field on offense. They're going to be feeding Dameon Pierce the ball in every which way possible.
Yeah, I mean, negative game script, positive game script, neutral game script. I can't talk. It doesn't fucking matter for Dameon Pierce, 6,300. He's going to get opportunity. Besides last week against the Eagles, you could see on the screen 3+ catches in the 4 prior games. So I think the floor is actually pretty high. I think his rushing touchdown upside is pretty high as well. If they're at the goal line, if they're in the 10-yard line, they're handing it off to Dameon Pierce. He's really the only player that can move the ball on this Houston Texans team. And it's not a horrible spot, against the Giants. So definitely don't mind Dameon Pierce for cash. I think the interesting conversation this week and what you're going to have to pay attention to tomorrow 100%, unless we get some early news, is Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
6,500 on the road in Green Bay. Ezekiel Elliott is questionable right now. But if I had to guess, based on what I've read on Twitter, it's looking like he's going to be out. And if we get Tony Pollard at 6,500 in, a presumable workhorse role, I think he's a lock in cash, to be honest.
I totally agree, but the question is, I mean, can we make that decision ahead of time with the 4 p.m. start time? It really kind of throws a wrench in that because we might not have this information until, halfway through the 1 p.m. games.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously if you're playing Tony Pollard, he's your RB3. This is a 3 running back week in cash. So if you're playing head to heads, double ups, 50-50s, any contest where you win 50% of your money, you're playing 3 running backs 100%. Like telling everybody that right now. And Ricky just put in the chat, yep, the Cowboys did also elevate a running back from the practice squad, which I think definitely
Pretty good indication.
Yeah, definitely gives an indication that Zeke is most likely trending towards being out. And the Cowboys also said they kind of want to monitor his reps and whatnot, and he wants to play for like the long term. So I definitely think he's out, but I'd still feel comfortable playing Tony Pollard, and just hoping that Zeke is out prior to 1 o'clock. I'd go into 1 p.m. lock with Tony Pollard as my RB3, and then if I have to swap, I'll swap and figure it out after.
It's tough. I mean, you would have to leave a decent bit on the board, I think, to have anything that you'd feel comfortable with. I mean, there's not really too much in that price range that looks good in the 4 p.m. slate that, is like a easy 1-for-1 pivot, like, 500 to get up to CeeDee Lamb, 700 to get up to Jones, can't play Jones. I mean, it's pretty ugly. Like the only viable pivot would be like 1100 up to Josh Jacobs, but there's a good chance Josh Jacobs is already in your lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing Josh Jacobs in cash personally.
Really? I mean, let's talk about that. Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, I think is a big talking point as well this week.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara is just projecting a little bit better. He's $200 cheaper. He fits the build a little bit better than Josh Jacobs. So I'd lean Kamara there, even though Josh Jacobs is a phenomenal play this week. I'm just never playing Josh Jacobs over Kamara if he's more expensive. Josh Jacobs is a touchdown reliant running back to reach his ceiling. Obviously, this matchup sets up as good of a spot as any to score touchdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on a full PPR site, and if you just say Kamara and Josh Jacobs are damn near the same price, come on, bro. I'm not playing Josh Jacobs.
I kind of disagree with that.
I don't care that he put up 3 30-point games. He's not a better player than Kamara. Kamara's going to catch more passes, and he's cheaper, and he fits the bill better.
I mean, the spot I think is significantly better for Josh Jacobs, though, right? I mean, in terms of matchup, they're about even. Like the Colts and Steelers defenses, respectively, are like almost exactly the same in terms of what they've been allowing and the way that they're trending. But with Josh Jacobs, right, they're at home. They have a better implied team total, and they're facing a team, right, that is essentially giving up. Right. They hired Jeff Saturday. They didn't have a play caller earlier this week. Like this is a spot where the Raiders should absolutely roll. I think it's a more competitive game for the Saints. Kamara's targets dropped off pretty heavily last week. Jarvis Landry is back. I'm not sure that Kamara's like this clear cut better play the way the projections are making it out to be. I don't think he's a bad play by any stretch, but I think it's a lot closer than I think you're kind of making it out to be between Jacobs and Kamara. And it's not like Jacobs has had a bad role in the passing game with no Darren Waller, no Hunter Renfrow. We could see the targets really consolidate around their best players, which at this point are Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And obviously it's close. They're projected within 1 point of each other, right? But Kamara is $200 cheaper. He's a more talented running back. You brought up team totals. The Raiders team total, they have a higher implied team total by 2 points. Like they have a 22.75 implied team total. The Saints have a 20.75 implied team total. The Raiders are a team that continuously disappoints everybody. They are that team, okay? I think if you play Josh Jacobs above Kamara tomorrow, it's a mistake from a process standpoint, even though they're close. I don't know. I think the reception upside and the talent beats out, in my opinion,
You
in
there's
favor of
also
Kamara.
there's also a factor, and I mean we can leave it at this, but I mean there's definitely a factor that Kamara is much more likely to get vultured in terms of touchdowns, just the way the Saints operate. Like nobody's going to come in and vulture a Josh Jacobs rushing touchdown the same way that they consistently do with the Saints offense.
Yeah.
Both are really strong plays, though. I mean, surprising to me that Saquon Barkley is getting like squeezed a little bit in terms of this running back pool, especially on a week where, we really do need safe points. And it doesn't really come any safer than Saquon Barkley in a spot against the Houston Texans coming off a bye at home, favored. Texans are allowing a league high 180 rushing yards per game. I mean, I think Saquon Barkley has been extremely consistent, right? But we haven't seen a ceiling game since week 1 when he put up like 35, 36 points on DraftKings. I think that Saquon breaks 30 plus tomorrow. I think he's the best play on the slate, just from a raw points perspective. I know you're paying up to play him, and maybe that's what's keeping people off of him because salary is so tight this week. But I think that Saquon Barkley is absolutely a tournament priority. And, I came into the week sort of expecting him to be like top 2 in terms of ownership percentage, and he's outside the top 5. So, I mean, Barkley is going to be all over my tournament teams this week.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon is clear cut the best running back play by far. 8,600 isn't a crazy price tag, but just in terms of the context of the slate, that's all it is. This is a week to week game. There's no value. You can't fit them in, especially especially with no 6K running backs, with no value wide receivers. You had to pay up a little bit at quarterback, 6,500 to Justin Fields. I think you're just sacrificing a lot if you play Saquon in cash, and everything's about lineup construction in cash games. Usually beats out just individual player takes, and that's kind of why I prefer Kamara too. Is Kamara just fits the construction better. He makes the lineup better all around him. Even if him and Jacobs are similar plays, or if you prefer Jacobs to Kamara, Kamara still makes the build look better and feel better. Going into lock, and that's really what this week comes down to, in my opinion. And just in terms of the context, you can't play Saquon in cash, but he's obviously the best play on the slate for sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think that you go there in cash, but I think in tournaments he's ultimately probably going to be the player that I have the most in terms of the running back position.
Currently playing Kamara, but was leaning Pierce. Should I pivot down to him?
Pierce is the first running back I'm plugging in.
Yeah, Pierce is projected to be the highest owned running back on this slate, and he's projecting as the best value on the slate. And if we just take a look at like the touches in the NFL, Dameon Pierce is tied for third with Joe Mixon, averaging 21 touches per game. So, he's up there in terms of total touches. He's 4th in the NFL in touches at the running back position behind Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Joe Mixon.
Yep.
So you're just getting a ton of opportunity with Dameon Pierce, even if the Texans are horrible, and he is the standout 6K running back right now until Zeke gets ruled out, and then Pollard becomes the best 6K play at running back.
Agreed. In the chat, Ricky says ETN. And I mean, yeah, ETN's really strong as well. You want to talk about workload. Ever since James Robinson left town, he's been a fucking workhorse in every sense of the word. 27 touches 2 weeks ago in Denver, 30 touches last week against the Raiders. And I think they'll lean on him again in this spot, on the road at KC. He's been their most explosive player by far. And, the only hope that they have to keep this game close.
Yeah, I mean, ETN, I could see him breaking the slate.
Yeah.
I could see him breaking off multiple long runs or scoring multiple touchdowns in the spot.
I mean, 4 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks.
Like in my opinion, the way you go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs is kind of the Titans game plan from last week. You go in, you play sound pass defense when you're on defense, and you control the clock and run the football. And obviously, ETN is no fucking big dog. but he's been a very capable runner, as we could see over the last month of the season with increased opportunity. And that's his best skill set right now is rushing the football. And he's going to get 20 plus attempts no matter the game script. Plus, you get some upside in the passing game, not as much as we had hoped. And I don't think that's ever really going to come to fruition this year. But you still get something, which is obviously very beneficial on a full PPR site. So ETN 7,100, he's a great play. But projections are gonna like Josh Jacobs and Kamara a little bit more. But he's a good tournament pivot for sure.
Yep, totally agree. I mean, that's about it in terms of like the cash pool, but there's definitely some interesting tournament options that we can discuss as well. And I think that one of the ways that I'm looking to get different on this slate is just by paying, to some of the other running backs in this price range that are going to get overlooked. Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry will both have ownership. Jacobs and Kamara will both have ownership, but Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook right there in the middle, neither of them are going to have ownership. And I think they're both phenomenal plays, especially Dalvin Cook here. I mean, obviously the Vikings are extremely live in this game with Josh Allen not at 100% and them being one of the surprising best teams in the NFC. The Bills, over the course of the year, looks like they have one of the best rush defenses in the league, sixth fewest rushing yards allowed per game. But over the last 3 weeks, they are in the bottom six, allowing 150 per game. And, I think the question is fair to ask, whether or not their rush defense is actually that good, or if at the beginning of the year, things were just skewed because they were dropping 30 plus on everybody they played and just forcing teams to get away from, the rush. They had to pass. They had to be trying to play, catch up the entire game. And that just makes the rush defense, statistics look better than they are. And I've talked to some Bills, people this week, and that's sort of the consensus, I think, among people who watch every snap of every Bills game as well. So, I mean, I think Dalvin very live in this game. I think that they're more beatable on the ground than they are through the air with the current state of this team. And if the Vikings do upset in this game, I think it's going to be through a monster Dalvin Cook game. And just one of the many narratives that we have going on in this game. There's revenge on both sides of the ball. And we also got the Cook brothers taking the field for the first time in a professional setting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that.
You think Dalvin, he wants to go out on the field and be like, hey, I'm still the big bro here. All right, you're going to get 4 touches. I'm getting 27 plus, and I'm going for 150 on your team's bitch ass. That's Dalvin's train of thought this week.
I mean, it's definitely plausible, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah, but I do agree that it's probably a mixture of both of, the Bills forcing teams into pass heavy game scripts, plus their defense just all around being good, and their scheme is very good on both, the passing side of things and the rush defense side of things. And the Bills overall are just a very good team. But Delvin Cook at 8K, I think is okay. I probably won't have much Delvin tomorrow. Honestly, I mean, for me, it's JT that's sticking out.
Yeah.
JT off the injury report, as you can see, doesn't have an injury designation. Right here, doesn't have an injury designation tomorrow. Cupcake matchup against the Raiders, who let me filter this. The Raiders, they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of rushing DVOA, and they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of rushing yards allowed per game. But they traded Naheem Hines. Deion Jackson has been ruled out.
Yeah.
So they have Jordan Wilkins.
They cut Lindsey too, right?
Yeah, they have Jordan Wilkins and some other scrub as their backups.
Yeah.
This is a full workhorse JT week at 7.5K. Obviously, it's disgusting with the results that he's had over this entire season. But, I mean, it's still JT, right? Like, I still want to bet on talent, and maybe Jeff Saturday comes in and ignites this team to actually try. He's a former Colts legend, won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. I don't know if you saw, but I saw a tweet with somebody who put out a video of Jeff Saturday and Peyton Manning getting into it on the sideline back
Mm-hmm.
in the day. And
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Saturday's like, we need to run the fucking ball or some shit like that. And Peyton's like, if I call a pass play, pass block. Like he's telling him, like, bro, we can't run the ball every play. So maybe Jeff comes in and is like, all right, we need to get back to the bread and butter. And the bread and butter of the offense is giving the ball to our best player, Jonathan Taylor.
I love that call. And like I said, they were struggling to find a play caller until like Monday or Tuesday, I think. And, so they're scrambling. They're trying to put together a game plan on the fly. You know how it is when you got to do something on the fly. You just go to what's reliable. And they're going to look at this roster and they're going to look at Sam Ellinger and they're going to be like, all right, can we win this game with Ellinger? Absolutely not. Can we maybe win it with JT if we, give him 35 plus opportunities? At least there's a chance. So I love JT this week at 7,500. And what's his ownership going to be? Like sub 5, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think he's the perfect tournament pivot in that range. I think that he has a 3-down role this week. I think that we're going to see the best, pass catching role that he's had with the players out and Naheem Hines gone. Like this backfield is Jonathan Taylor's.
Yes.
And I think making those moves, like trading away Naheem Hines, I think that says something about like, they're confident in his ability to come back, or, they're just trading him because it's the lost season. Maybe it's one or the other. Maybe it's a combo of both. But Jonathan Taylor, 7,500 is one of my favorite plays. And then, DeAndre Swift at 6.4.
Hard to trust him, man. It's so hard to trust him. He's just like, bro, he had 5 touches last week. 5 touches.
That's tough. But
doesn't have an injury designation coming into this week. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. I don't believe it. I don't know. I mean, if it's true, then he's like the GOAT play this week.
He was a full practice participant Friday for the first time since week 1. The Bears legitimately have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, just behind Houston and Detroit.
Yeah.
This is a very good spot. He's leveraged off of Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's going to be cold out in Soldier Field. Jared Goff, small hands. He's used to the warm weather in California where, he grew up, went to college there. Now he plays in a dome. He's accustomed to good weather football. And we know when we put Jared Goff in those bad, or I wouldn't say bad, but in unfavorable conditions, he can kind of, just turn into me.
Yeah.
I'd probably be better than Jared Goff in a cold weather game, to be honest.
You think so?
So, DeAndre Swift, 6,400. I think he's the GOAT GPP play this week. It's hard to trust, but you don't make money on DraftKings by playing it safe.
That's facts. That's facts. I mean, you kind of putting me on right now. I kind of like that play. I kind of like that play.
Even though, he's projecting as probably like a fucking -10 value.
Oh yeah, I mean projections wise, he's like outside the top 20, but that's okay. Fuck the projections. We got to roll with a little bit of Swift in tournaments this week. Any interest in Chubb? I know that you never want to play Nick Chubb, and I mean he's pricey. He's 8-1, but I think that if this game does shoot out and really blow the expectation out of the water, Nick Chubb is the best player on the Browns, and if anybody's going nuke on the Browns, Chubb has the best chance to do so.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably score 2 touchdowns and shove it down my throat if I say I'm not playing Nick Chubb. So
I mean, that's what he does.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
I mean, one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, going to see a ton of opportunity. I mean, whatever, but I'd rather just find the 500 to get up to Saquon.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense there. I mean, anybody else at running back that we need to touch on?
I mean, I said Darrell Henderson on the podcast on Wednesday. Still don't mind that. Do we have any info on Kieran Williams?
He will play.
Oh, he's actually going to play?
He will play this week. They did.
All right. So maybe not Kieran Williams, or maybe not Darrell Henderson anymore. But I think the Rams just kind of try and establish it tomorrow with John Wolford as the starting quarterback. Jeff Wilson is interesting at 5.5. in a good spot against Cleveland. Raheem Mostert, 6.1 against Cleveland. You have the Bears running backs direct leverage off Justin Fields. Do you have a preference between David Montgomery or Khalil Herbert? Like, if this was last year, David Montgomery would be stone chalk,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that they're both good. I mean, obviously Montgomery's safer, but like, do we care about safer here? Like, I don't think that we do because he's obviously not in cash consideration. So do we just shoot for the stars and play the more talented running back? And I mean, he's shown the ability. Like David Montgomery was healthy in week 8 and he still had 16 attempts. Like if he is up in that range, getting between 12 and 16 touches in this game against the Lions at home, like he could definitely go nuke. Like Montgomery was there in both of those games, tougher matchups against New England and Dallas, still put up, 15.7 and 15.9. I think he has a 20 plus spot in his range here. Maybe not likely, but great leverage off of Justin Fields. And I definitely want to play a little bit of Khalil Herbert, albeit very strictly in like the largest of fields.
Yep, totally agree. There's not many other players that I like. So just in summary, my favorite tournament plays at running back are JT and DeAndre Swift personally, and then Saquon Barkley.
Yep, and I would say Saquon and Dalvin Cook.
All right. Moving on to wide receiver. I mean, this is the toughest position, in my opinion, this week.
It's brutal.
And somebody in the chat, they asked, who are the 4 wide receivers who have positive values on this slate? Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, and Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
So 3 of the, 5 highest priced wide receivers. No shock there. Cooper Kupp gets knocked a little bit because of the quarterback situation. Justin Jefferson, I'm not sure why he's not projecting great, probably matchup based. But other than that, God, wide receiver is kind of disgusting. Everybody's priced up a little bit. Chris Olave, 6,800 now. Amon-Ra St. Brown got priced up after a dud. Juju Smith-Schuster is looking like he's going to be the highest owned wide receiver on the slate outside of ASB. I mean, what's your lean in cash for wide receiver?
I don't fucking know, dude. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I mean, I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown, you play him. Like just from a projection standpoint, he's the best on the slate. And like far and away from a value standpoint, he's the best on the slate. So I think you just, trust the projections there. You trust the volume there. The volume is just so bankable. Like everything lines up to just play Amon-Ra St. Brown. But after that, shit gets really, really, really tricky. I think that, Juju is probably the next best play or the guy that I'm at least the most confident in, just because, the targets that Juju have gotten lately have just been super consistent, really consistent as the only guy outside of Kelsey with a real consistent role, 8+ targets in all but 2 games this season. He had 12 last week, obviously elevated a little bit just by the insane pass rate of the offense. Like I said, Mahomes threw for the 3rd most pass attempts in, NFL history last week. That won't repeat, but I still think that Juju is probably the play here. Like we already mentioned, Chiefs have an elite team total over 30, only team on the slate over 30. So it's Juju to me. Outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then at that point, I mean, if that's the lineup that you're running, like what you've got on the screen with Fields, Pierce, you plug in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster, cheap tight ends, which we'll get to soon. Like you're looking at value for these 3rd wide receiver spots. And the guys that are standing out this week, I think, are Donovan Peoples-Jones and Matt Collins. So how do you feel about those 2 guys? Both priced relatively cheaply. DPJ 4,300, Matt Collins 4,200. Better matchup, better game environment, I think, for Donovan Peoples-Jones. But Matt Collins should have a really, really strong target share in this spot without Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller playing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that Matt Collins is probably going to have a better role, but I think DPJ is a better wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think the game environment is a little bit better. I talked about with the Raiders that this is, a team that consistently underperforms, right? Especially this season. So kind of don't want to buy into this Raiders offense even without Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, especially, a cheap wide receiver where I think there's another better play in DPJ. So I'd rather go there. Zay Jones is popping a little bit. Then you also have Marquez Valdez-Scantling at 4,100, who I think is the tournament pivot. But I mean, I have PTSD with MVS. Like, I can't do it, bro. Can't fucking do it.
I want to play him so bad, dude. But the last time I went heavy MVS, he got us a donut and tanked your best tournament team of the year.
Yep. Yep. That was a very, very good tournament week, and I had some shots at first place in a couple tournaments, some early only tournaments. Even though he was in the late games, and just ended up falling apart. Pain, just fucking pain. But DFS, you got to have a short memory. You know how they say on the football field. You go out, drop a pass, you got to forget about it, or else you'll let it snowball, and you'll start thinking about it, and you'll start underperforming. Same thing with DFS, right? You got to move on. It's a week-to-week game. MVS at 4,100, definitely a good tournament pivot. But if you're playing a cheap wide receiver in cash, it's definitely DPJ, in my opinion, just for the game environment and for the talent upside. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, running the optimizer on Roto Grinders, okay, the Roto Grinders Optimal has the 3 wide receivers. I guess we could talk about the third: Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Treylon Burks at 3K.
Stop it.
You don't have any interest in Treylon Burks this week?
Bro, I wouldn't play Treylon Burks in your lineups, dude. Wouldn't play him with your money, your lineups. No shot. I'm not touching Treylon, dude. Come on. Can't play him.
Unplayable?
I believe so. I can't believe that he's in the optimal. I hope people run him.
The optimal is double tight end.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would strongly recommend nobody play that unless you're playing me in head-to-heads, in which case it's the best lineup that has ever existed, and you should 100% roll it against me in cash.
Ricky says DBJ has very little touchdown upside, though. Only 4 red zone targets all year. Yeah, I mean, they just give the ball to Nick Chubb. So
makes sense, but I mean, you don't really need the touchdown from him at 43. Like, if he gets a touchdown, you're smashing, but he can get there off, 4 to 5 catches and 50 yards. Like, you would take 10 points easy.
Yeah, that's really all you're hoping for with DPJ, is just one of these results out of his last 5 games, an 11, 13 point game, somewhere around there,
which is his most likely outcome.
Yeah, Matt Collins has 10 red zone targets. Yeah, I mean, I think the Raiders are just more of a threat to throw the ball in the red zone than the Browns, just the way that the offense runs, for sure. I wonder, Matt Collins is projected for 11. DPJ is projected for 11.4, so it's pretty close there. I mean,
yeah.
If you prefer Matt Collins, I think he's just as okay. I just think DPJ is more talented.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of my argument.
No, and I would second that. I also think that a game environment is a lot better for the Browns, just to potentially hit a ceiling in this spot. I guess before we move on, I mean, I feel like both of those guys are getting up to a point in an ownership projection that they make for really, really strong tournament fades as well. Because I mean, I think both have relatively limited ceilings on the surface. Like we just talked about DPJ's limited surface and limited ceiling. I'm sorry. And then, Matt Collins obviously had that one nuclear 33-point game, but it's just like, is he ever going to do that again? I mean, certainly very unlikely to happen, and very unlikely to happen this week. So yeah, I think you probably fade both in tournaments.
I mean, cheap wide receiver chalk for everybody watching is the best fade on DraftKings.
Always.
Cheap wide receiver chalk, because wide receiver, obviously you need opportunity, but the way you get opportunity as a wide receiver is by being a talented wide receiver. And it obviously correlates that the cheaper you are, the less talented you are. So it makes sense, right? So I'm always fading cheap wide receivers and just playing those pivots like MVS, um, Zay Jones, Khalif Raymond, or Walif Waymond,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Then you could get up a little bit to that Claypool, Kadarius Toney tier. I mean, God, Kadarius Toney at 5K is brutal, bro. Like, what is he done?
I can't believe he's 5K. I
What has
wanted to
he
play him
done
so
to
bad.
deserve being $5,000? Like, come on, DK. Like, you got to give us a bone,
Bro, he should be like
he sh-
3.5.
yeah, he should be 3,800, and I lock him in every lineup. But he's 5K, so he's gonna go under owned. I mean, you could obviously stack him with Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, I'm just either getting up from that tier or just avoiding it completely. Because you could build just straight mid range lineups. And the cheap wide receivers this week, I don't think they're that strong in my opinion.
They're definitely not. Matt in the chat says, "Let's run a $5 contest for the viewers here." And we've actually had some people in the Discord talk about doing that as well. So here we go. I will set that up tomorrow morning. Anybody who would like to join, here's our Discord link. Put that in the comment section. So if you're not a Discord member, join that, and we will run a $5 contest on DraftKings tomorrow for all the viewers and listeners of the show. Let's get this bread, boys. A little friendly competition. Why not?
Bet.
All right. So, wide receiver, man. I mean, it's so disgusting. Like we talked about, I think the main cash game core, Christian Kirk, is going to be in this discussion as well. I think a lot of people will probably look to Christian Kirk, and it makes sense. Jags are going to be chasing points. Game environment is immaculate here. And Christian Kirk started off the year super hot. The production is really kind of tapered off, but he's still been consistent, right? 17 or more points in 2 out of the last 3, 10 targets, 7 targets, 9 targets. This is, a game where obviously we expect the Jags to be passing to keep up with KC. So yeah, I mean, Christian Kirk is a strong play, I think, but it's just hard to like justify playing him over Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't think you can do that. And then like, is the savings off of Amon-Ra worth it? Not really. In my opinion, projections wouldn't say that they are. So you've got Amon-Ra and Juju, and then these running backs that you have to pay up for, and not a cheap quarterback. Like, I just don't think that Christian Kirk fits the build, although he is a good play on the surface, in my opinion.
Yep, totally agree. You can't fit him in cash, but he is a good standalone play. Definitely going to have exposure to Christian Kirk. I also don't mind this Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy tier. I kind of like Jeudy in this spot against Tennessee. I think that the Broncos are going to have to go a little bit more pass heavy with the Titans just having one of the better run defenses in the NFL this year. Just kind of hard to run against them. And then you also take into account that the Broncos running backs are just brutal right now with Latavius Murray and Melvin Gordon and Chase Edmonds, who they traded for. Just nothing to, be crazy about just in terms of their backfield. So I think this is a game where Russell Wilson is going to have to throw the football. At the end of this, can y'all do me a favor? Show a stacking of KC, Jacksonville, Miami, Cleveland, and maybe Bills Vikings game. We got you.
Yeah, we'll throw some stacks out. 100p.
Start that comment. You can start comments now.
Never knew that.
StreamYard made an update.
Damn.
They leveling up.
Shout out to StreamYard. All right, so I mean, that's definitely it for guys that I think we're considering in cash games. In terms of some other tournament options, I mean, you just mentioned the Broncos guys, and I do like that a lot. It's good leverage as well off of Greg Dulcich, who we'll get to in a minute, but he's going to be just like absolute stone chalk. So just playing any other Denver Bronco as direct leverage makes a ton of sense. I like Amari Cooper. Like, he is a good play for all the reasons that Donovan Peoples-Jones is, except he's like a much superior player, and he hits his ceiling a lot more frequently, has a ceiling, and is just like, I mean, for as bad as like we think Jacoby Brissett is, like him and Amari Cooper have shown a lot of chemistry up to this point. 6,500 is a really good price tag. And on a tight week, like finding a guy with a ceiling like Amari Cooper in this price range, in this matchup, in a potential game environment that we both think could shoot out makes a lot of sense. He's one of my favorite plays at the position for tournaments.
Facts. Shout out Mr. Torian in the chat.
Yeah,
My guy.
for sure.
All right. Amari Cooper's your tournament call. Definitely love that. I think Chris Olave is a great tournament play as well. 6,800. And then the Bills wide receivers. I mean, nobody's going to play the Bills wide receivers this week. Stephon Diggs would be my favorite just for the revenge narrative. I mean, he's coming out there angry.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
coming out there ready to absolutely dog the Vikings cornerbacks tomorrow.
And he should have no trouble doing so.
If you don't think he's going for 8, 120, and 2 tomorrow, you're off your rocker.
100p. Love that call.
Diggs is my favorite tournament play at wide receiver. And then I like Chris Olave quite a bit as well. But Amari Cooper is a good call. Moving on to tight end. I mean, this might be the best cheap tight end week of the season.
Yeah. No, it looks really strong for once.
You have Greg Dulcich at 3,400. Foster Moreau, who comes into, a better target share without Darren Waller. He's an every snap player, runs a route on pretty much every single one of Derek Carr's dropbacks. You have Harrison Bryant at 2,700 in a potential shootout. David Njoku ruled out. Just kind of unfortunate. Harrison Bryant didn't run a ton of routes in that week 8 game. Which is kind of disappointing to see, especially with him being a Mackey Award winner in college, which is the best tight end in college football award. And I think we know he's capable of being a fantasy relevant tight end with opportunity. Just kind of unfortunate that he didn't run a ton of routes, but I think he's in play as a cheap option. I saw somebody mention Tanner Hudson before at 2,600. 5 targets in their last game before the bye. We talked about that in week 8. I mean, just a ton of cheap, and Evan Ingram as well.
Yeah, no, Ingram looks good. Cole Kmet, we kind of speculated early in the week was going to be really chalky. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case anymore with Foster Moreau, fully emerging. So, I mean, all the ownership is going to condense, I think, around Dulcich and Moreau, Evan Ingram as well. And if you get outside of that range, you're looking really good. I mean, Travis Kelce is the obvious, you want to pay up to get different. He's in a goated spot this week. And without Cole just, vulturing those gadget plays by the goal line, I think his touchdown expectation looks even better
17
this week.
Targets.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely absurd. Travis Kelce, such a good play this week. Hard to stack with Mahomes because they're both so expensive. But if you do go there, I think it's a really strong, high upside stack for sure.
I mean, there's just a realistic scenario where like Travis Kelce scores more points than like these 10 tight ends combined.
Oh yeah. I mean,
come on. If that happens, like you're gonna need Kelce to win a tournament. But the cheap tight end chalk actually looks very good this week. So I don't know how comfortable I would feel, investing that capital on the tightest week of the year on a tight end where you need multiple touchdowns for him at this point in his career to hit his ceiling. And at 7,800, like you need 25, 30 points. And that's just a bet that I'm willing to bet against. So that's just
it makes sense. Makes sense. But I mean, like from a projection standpoint, like raw points, he's projecting like 9 to 10 points higher than every other tight end on the slate. So I mean, there's definitely reason to play him for sure. So
yeah,
I like Kelce. I'll definitely have a little bit, but I mean, obviously we're going to be living in the cheap range. I think Dulcich is the lean for me in cash over Moreau. Do you feel the same way? I think he's just more explosive and more talented, but I mean, Moreau has had the opportunity, hasn't done too much with it up to this point, but that could break in any given week. All he needs is a touchdown to go with the volume, and things are looking good for Moreau as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 redraft teams. and one of them I'm playing Moreau, and one of them I'm playing Dulcich. I'm just splitting them.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure I got them in both leagues too. Like,
Mm.
just I want exposure to both. Probably play Dulcich in cash because he fits the build. And in the build that I have, you could leave the 200 on the table, maybe for some swaptionality if you play Tony Pollard, which my cash game lineup right now does have Tony Pollard in it for everybody watching. So, yeah, Dulcich fits it. I think they're pretty much the same fucking play.
Yeah,
If
no, I mean, I
if one
agree.
scores a touchdown, it's a crapshoot. Like we can't predict, touchdowns. Obviously, especially for cheap tight ends. I do think Moreau is a better bet to score a touchdown this week, though. So
Yeah, they have
take
a
that.
4-point higher implied team total. The Raiders do.
That must have just changed. Oh no,
Uh,
or no, from the Broncos. Yeah, from the Broncos.
yeah, no, yeah, from the Broncos. From the Broncos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's about it for tight end. Like you're
Yeah,
just punting it off, right?
there's nothing else to talk about.
So
I mean, defense, I don't even know.
I mean,
For
Cardinals.
cash, it's Cardinals, just because of the quarterback situation there. I think in tournaments, you can get up to the Saints. I love the Saints this week. You get a nice DL versus OL mismatch there. I think the Rams at home versus Colt McCoy potentially looks very good. I think those two are my favorite, Saints and Rams for sure. And
Yeah, I
then the
mean,
Chiefs as well. Chiefs at home versus Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence.
yeah, I mean that's for sure good. I think that those are the three for me would be Chiefs, Rams, and Cardinals. Like, I mean, Cardinals are going to be dumb chalk, right?
Cardinals and Vikings are going to be chalk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely comfortable getting away from the Vikings at this point with Josh playing. Like, I do think they get a lot of points dropped on them, but they could force some more turnovers with. I mean, Josh has already turned the ball over, more than usual over the past couple of weeks, and with the bum elbow, I think that maybe that expectation rises a little bit. But I just don't want to eat into a super chalky 2,200 defense in tournaments. I think you get up a little bit and get different.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just feel like the Cardinals and Rams specifically, potentially facing two backup quarterbacks on offenses that weren't that good to begin with. It's just like, I don't know. Both defenses are really strong. I could see each of them scoring a touchdown in this game.
Yep, absolutely. For sure. So yeah, Rams, Cardinals, definitely two very strong defenses. Saints projecting for 5%. Cardinals obviously chalk. Rams projecting for 1% right now. I mean, Rams at 1% is a total smash at
Complete.
home. Going up against, a bad offensive line with a ton of offensive line injuries, with potentially a backup quarterback. I mean, yeah, just pay up a little bit for defense this week, even though it's a tight week. The cheap defenses are just horrible, in my opinion. So let's build a nice game stack here.
Yeah.
Mr. Torian, he wants KC, Jacksonville, Miami, and Cleveland. Which one of those two do you think has a better chance of winning you $1 million on this slate?
Let's do Miami, Cleveland first.
All right. So I think with Miami, I kind of want to be on the Dolphins side here.
Yeah.
So I do think I think we do start with Tua, as that leverage play off of Justin Fields.
Yep.
And Tua is actually projecting relatively well. He's projecting 0.1 less points than Justin Fields for 200 more and half the ownership. So Tua there. Now the question is, do we eat the Tyreek Hill chalk at 9,100, or do we play Jalen Waddle at 7,600?
I think we can play Tyreek, right? Like, it's going to be a pretty contrarian lineup no matter what. So I think we can eat Tyreek chalk. He'll be under 20% still. So you're not paying up, you're not going to eat too much chalk. I would like to, not play DPJ though. And
Yeah.
either fit, Chubb or Cooper and most likely Cooper, just because the price tag on Chubb is so extreme.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we could also We could also throw in Harrison Bryant if we wanted to at 2,700
We
for the
could.
ultimate savings, and run, kind of a double bring back there. But we'll see what happens from here. So do you want to leave it as, this mini stack with a bring back, or do you want to double Tua?
I think we leave it here for now.
All right.
With Tyreek at 9,100, the type of game he needs to have at this current price tag, I think it would be kind of tough for Jalen Waddle to also get there. Like Waddle could have a good game, but if you're getting 20 points out of the cheaper wide receivers, like are Waddle and Tyreek both going to drop 30? Obviously, it's in the range, but it's just so hard to play that this week with the lack of savings.
Yeah, for sure. So running backs. Do we eat the Dameon Pierce chalk? I mean, we definitely can, but I do think that his ceiling is probably not as high as some of these other running backs.
Yeah.
Specifically Tony Pollard. And I would definitely play Tony Pollard as chalk over Dameon Pierce chalk.
As would I.
I don't know how you feel. So I think we're kind of in consensus that we play Tony Pollard.
Yep.
And we'll see. We'll obviously, flex, whatever.
Let's see.
We need a defense, so let's plug in a cheap defense.
Yeah.
I mean Rams, no?
Rams.
3,300, but
I mean, the question is, can we get filthy with it and like play Kieran Williams here at the men?
I mean,
look at the phrasing in that DraftKings blurb. Head coach Sean McVay made it known that Williams would make his debut. I mean, he's been just frothing at the mouth, just waiting to get Kieran Williams involved in this broken offense and try and salvage something.
He low-key is, though. That's the funny part.
Like
he wants
Kieran so bad.
He wants him so bad, and he's probably just going to be trashed like the rest of them. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
But Cam Akers and Henderson, I think, are both going to be active.
Yep.
What I would say though, I think Cam Akers is dust.
Absolutely.
I think that he's just phased out of the offense. So I think it is Kieran competing with Darrell Henderson here. Don't believe Big McVay, one of the biggest cappers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's got stock and lids. That boy loves cap.
So he's got stock and lids. That's crazy. All right. But I don't mind that. Especially if we're building this for like a Millie Maker type contest, a large field contest. Nobody's going to play Kieran Williams. And God, I mean, fucking Underdog, they're running a promo for Kieran Williams if you guess his fantasy score. Like, everybody's on this shit.
Could I guess like 2?
Yeah.
2.5?
Yeah,
I like Kieran as like a strictly large field. Obviously, I mean we need it though. I mean, look at the salary here. Like we're literally starved for salary in this lineup just off of playing Tyreek, Cooper, and Tua.
Yeah. So tight end. I mean, do we go Harrison Bryant? I think we need a cheap.
Yeah.
I played Williams in the preseason because McVay said he was going to get lots of work and he didn't even play.
Yeah, bro, because they were shelving him for the regular season. They
honestly, that's probably it,
kid, right?
I think that they wanted him to be the guy.
I think that was like the plan going into week 1, right? Just kind of got derailed.
Yeah. Shout out injuries.
So, all right, let's plug in Harrison and see what it lets us do here.
I don't know if we could do that. I'd rather just.
I mean, it's gross. You want to play like Ingram or Dolce? I don't want to like play Dolchich or Moreau. They're going to be so chalky. But I guess this lineup's pretty contrarian.
Yeah, I'd rather just play Moreau.
All right, let's see what Moreau gives us.
Because Evan Ingram is going to be chalky too.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't even matter which one of these three, unless we play Dawson Knox.
Let's see what Moreau does for us.
I don't mind Moreau in this lineup. 5,300. does that take us out of play for? Sheesh. I mean, there's no chance.
No.
All right. Let's see this.
No, this is going to be something like something balanced.
Can't even go JT.
I mean, what about like Swift?
Bro, we need more chalk at running back.
This line is cooked.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a hard game to stack, bro. This is a hard game to stack.
It's just like what I would do personally. I mean, it's hard to fade Tyreek, but I'd go Jalen Waddle over Tyreek. Give you some savings there. And then I would go like Kamara here or something like that. Like I'd go Kamara or Josh Jacobs or whatever and find, a third wide receiver in this range because I really want to stick to 3 running backs this week. And that Tyreek
in
build
tournaments as well.
Yeah. And that Tyreek build kind of caps you a little bit.
It's just like is Tua hitting his ceiling in a single stack with Waddle, do you think? I mean, I guess it could happen. It could happen.
I mean, like if the touchdowns obviously get spread out a little bit, but price adjusted, it's hard because he's only 1,500 less.
Can we get up to like Barkley in this lineup to be a little more contrarian off of Kamara?
I mean, we don't need to be contrarian, really.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't really do much for us.
If we're playing Jalen Waddle and Amari Cooper and Kieran Williams,
yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
And Tua, like we could eat chalk here.
So I mean, with a lineup like this, I guess you're probably playing another chalky running back. You could play Kamara and be in that price range we were just in, or you could play like Damian Pierce and like have a little more flexibility for a better wide receiver as well.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I mean, that gives you like a Christian Kirk one-off, which is not bad.
Yeah, something like that.
So I guess that's what a stack of this game would look like. I mean, obviously there are alternative paths you could go, and I think that you can definitely double stack the Brown side of the ball with a Tyreek bring back, and that looks okay. But
yeah,
I mean, every lineup that you make this week is going to be nasty. That's kind of what we're saying.
That's the thing. The line is cooked, bro. Show me a non-cooked lineup.
Yeah, honestly,
you're gonna have to make some plays you don't feel comfortable with. And Kieran Williams, I mean, he's definitely probably one of the better thin plays out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely disgusting and god awful, but probably
or Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I guess.
Chiefs, Jags. I mean,
all right, let's do it.
Like I said at the top, the Chiefs are good because you got cheap options.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're obviously doing that. We could double too. Like do we go Tony?
I mean, I think we go Kelsey.
Chopped.
I mean, right? Like this is how I would probably play it, and then I'm probably playing like Zay Jones or some shit.
Zay Jones.
I mean, you could probably play like, I guess like salary wise, the way that this works is like you maybe play like Juju, Kelsey, and Zay, or you play MVS Kelsey, and have the salary for Kirk. I don't know.
Or MVS and Juju.
Okay, MVS Juju. Don't hate it. But then are we devoting all 3 of our wide receiver spots to this single game? Or do we play Evan Ingram as the bring back?
Nah, something like this for sure.
Okay. All right. So let's fill
it
out.
Or you get rid of MVS because he sucks at football.
Yeah, but
if you're running a double, MVS is definitely a good cheap piece to include. And then that still gives you Pat to, a cheap tight end, save you salary there, cheap D.
I mean,
we could play ETN. ETN is probably the best play.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
I think we can afford it in this lineup a little bit, and that opens up the other wide receiver spots. Christian Kirk really, he's never beating you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Defense. I mean, how
I
far do
mean,
you?
just plug Rams. I mean, just
Yeah,
for now.
yeah, we're in on the Rams.
All right.
ETN, Pollard, and Pierce. Yeah, so if we have a cheap tight end, we could plug in. We could do Evan Ingram, but Evan Ingram is chalk. Kirk is him this week. Christian Kirk ain't him.
Mm-mm.
I mean, neither is MVS.
No,
So
neither of them are them.
yeah, but yeah, I think ETN is the bring back for sure. Just because I think he's game script independent and 3-down running back. Uh, one of the highest touch opportunities on the slate at the position.
I also don't think it's out of the question that ETN has like a 6 to 7 catch game in his range. Like it hasn't really been the way it's played out, but I think in a game like this, we could see it.
Yeah, for sure. I personally would play Pollard here.
Yep.
As a second RB. Then we have a tight end, the cheap one.
Just plug whoever in there. I just want to see the price.
All right, let's do Harrison Bryant.
Yeah, I like this build. I mean, like this could be something like, Alan Lazard. I think Lazard is a phenomenal bring back to Tony Pollard stuff. And then you got 63 for, Pierce if you want it. Could go down at defense and, move at either of those spots.
Yeah, and you could get rid of ETN, go Christian Kirk, Ricky. He's bringing up some good points, but I mean, at the end of the day, Christian Kirk, he's just really never hitting his ceiling.
Right, he had a 2 touchdown game this year and was under 30. I mean,
yeah, it's just so bad with the Jags right now. So I prefer ETN as the bring back, but this would be a Christian Kirk bring back build. Then you could do something like, we're playing Pollard, so we could play a chalk running back. So if we did something like Saquon, that gives you 5K for a bring back or for a player. If you go a little bit down, if you want to get super contrarian, play JT 6,100. That puts you in the range of Lazard, who I think is actually a very good play.
Love Lazard.
And some of that. You
also
could go...
someone in the chat mentioned Lazard as the late swap pivot to Pollard and Cash. I actually think that's really good. Lazard should be like a safe bet for like 7, 8, 9 targets in this game.
Yeah, totally agree that he's pretty much a lock for like 7+ targets tomorrow, as long as he stays healthy. But yeah, this is how I would build a Chiefs Jags stack here.
Yep.
But this is what I would do. I'd go ETN here. I'd go, if you want to get different at tight end.
I mean, Komet.
I can't do it. I'd rather just eat the chalk, to be honest. I don't know. Let's just go Dawson Knox, whatever. Contrarian tight end. Then try and run like a little mini correlation here. What's a good mini?
I mean, Lazard's a good mini for your Pollard stuff, and then you can play, one of your contrarian Broncos receivers that you liked.
Yeah, something like
as a one-off. Judy fits perfect. Like I think that's solid.
Yeah, or you go like Kieran Williams in this lineup. Go Kieran Williams, 7,800 for a wide receiver.
Nasty.
Jalen Waddle. No, that's disgusting. Don't do that.
Do
not do that.
But I mean, to Ricky's point, like I actually think that these teams don't look terrible if you work on them a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, you want to do the last requested game stack here before we get out of here? Bills Vikes. Holy shit. How about Dalvin? Let me get Dalvin.
Dalvin's 800 less.
Yeah, we need to save. Dalvin's my boy this week. That's my gold
Save?
star fucking tournament
What are
play,
you talking
bro.
about save? No,
Bro.
we're playing Justin Jefferson as a bring
Bro,
back.
this ain't gonna hit. You need Dalvin in there. Chops.
For 800 less?
Yeah.
No. Running back is the position that we could save.
With who? Thielen in the chat? I mean, just impossible. Yeah, it is actually impossible to play this, like, looking at it.
Nah, in this lineup, you have to play Kieran Williams on a P.
Any lineup where Kieran Williams is a must is a bad lineup. Let me just say that off rip. If you're saying you have to play Kieran Williams, you have to start from scratch on the lineup. This shit is chalks.
Nah, bro, we'll make it work.
Cool. All right. So I mean, we need an actual cheap defense, I think. I don't think we could play the Rams in this. Like, Colts, you're getting a lot of leverage against Raiders. Chalk, maybe they show out. Raiders could totally disappoint.
Yep, love that. Tight end. Just this is horrible.
I mean, Ingram, maybe. I don't know.
I'm never playing Evan Ingram.
Also, I'm with Evan Ingram. I don't think his ownership is going to be in the same tier as Dolce.
Bro, look at this guy.
And Moreau. I know. He's a goof.
Bro, Mans needs fucking a hair transplant, Botox. Jesus. You'd have to play Cousins, honestly. Probably. But Josh Allen is the best tournament play at quarterback. It's just hard to fit him. You're never going to get a week where you get Josh Allen at 1%.
Yeah, this is probably it.
Ever. Again, in the history of Josh Allen's career.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of stand by that. I think I stand by that. But, like, what are we doing to make this lineup work?
Well, cheap tight end. We play, like a Harrison Bryant, or do you want to go Tanner Hudson?
All right. So, we could play Tanner Hudson. We could play Dameon Pierce for the correlation. Obviously, this is hella contrarian, so it's fine to eat the running back chalk here.
Yeah, we're lit.
Yeah.
And then wide receiver just depends like kind of what route you want to go. Do you want to try and double Josh Allen with like Isaiah McKenzie at 4,700?
I would rather double him with like Dawson Knox and at least give you another viable ceiling play.
Let's see how that would look. 4,100. That gives you MVS and another 4,100 player.
I mean, this gives you something like MVS, pivot off defense, and you could play Matt Collins or DPJ in this.
It's not horrible.
Or you go to Cook off Jefferson and you are a little bit better off as well.
Bro, what are we doing with Cook off Jefferson?
No, you keep Kieran in.
Yeah.
You put MVS.
I'm fixing it, bruh. Give me a minute. $4,900. Who you playing? This is shambles.
I'm playing Claypool. Probably. Claypool, maybe, yeah.
You running this in a tournament?
Fuck no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, dude. I have no idea how to play
I'm telling you, the Justin Jefferson side is way better.
But what's the you would just go down at defense and like play Matt Collins or something.
Yeah.
or DPJ. Like, do you play? All right, here we go. Here we go. I got you. The gears are turning now. Let's go back to your build, right? With JJeff. All right. So we go JJeff in this game. And what we do is we go down to the Vikings defense and we play our quarterback stack against our defense. We're going to get an early pick from Josh Allen. So Vikings score, and that just puts the Bills into hyperdrive, right? We get the pick 6 off rip, and then the Bills go to hyperdrive. They get the lead at some point, and then the Vikings are back in passing mode. That's how Justin Jefferson gets there. And that's the exact game script of this game.
And then we play Walif Waymond.
Yeah, or I mean, shit, you got Zay Jones if you want the mini correlation with MVS. 2 pieces of the best game on the slate. Why not? That lineup right there is 100% not cashing anything. This shit is terrible.
Just like case and pray Josh gets injured again. Honestly, bro, this is something that I wanted to do that, like, oh my God, I wish we got Case Keenum, bro. Where is he? I'm fucking blind. Oh, right.
37 Christian Watson. You feel that? I mean, he is going to play.
This is how what like a lineup that I wanted to build this week. Something like this. Case Keenum double with the Justin Jefferson bring back. Figure out the little mini correlations. This would have been my literal tournament lineup. Something like this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was about to be all over Case, but
like this just looks good on a week where not many lineups look good. Just unfortunate, man. Unfortunate. But we tried our best. Obviously, we're going to be building lineups tomorrow morning. And
hopefully
none of them
won't
are
be looking
cash.
like this.
None of them are going to cash. So that's that. But if you're still watching, shout out to everybody watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I mean, we're kind of fucking zooming up right now. We're over 500. That was our goal for the end of the year. My goal specifically, because I do all like the YouTube analytic bullshit for us. So that was my goal. So shout out to everybody watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are a huge part, man. You guys are a huge part of the success with the channel lately. I mean, just the people who come in every week and view the streams and watch the streams the whole way through. That helps us out a ton. So really shout out to you guys, and shout out to us a little bit as well for the prize picks content lately. Can I just say that, out of the 5 prize picks that, I did a video on this week, 4 of them have gotten bumped in the direction that I bet them. So, I mean, we're really, really locked in right now in terms of the prize pick stuff. So
absolutely. Yeah, if you're not on prize picks, I mean, you got to get on prize picks for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not big into DFS, it's getting late into the season and whatnot. Prize picks is just easier. You go on there, you bet over under, parlay it, and lose.
Yeah. I mean, a bankable tradition like no
Tom, Gino, or Dak this week, redraft. Hot take, I'm playing fucking Geno Smith.
I am as well. I mean, Seattle rolls tomorrow morning, right?
You got a bet in for that?
I don't, but I mean, I like Seattle with some points. I mean, goddamn. Come on.
I would lean Seattle plus.
I think it's 2.5 right
Seattle
now.
plus as well.
Yeah.
For sure. Hard weeks are the easiest weeks to cash big. Yeah, all it takes is you being on the right game, right stack. This is the best week probably to play contrarian.
Yeah, I mean, no bullshit. I really do think that this is one of the better tournament weeks we've had because it's just so hard to build good lineups. I think people are going to make a lot of mistakes, and obviously, if you're here watching this, you're grinding DFS. Less than, I mean, what, like we got almost 12 hours until lock. Like, you guys are grinders, so you already know you're up to date and you'll have an edge tomorrow.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for. Just lineup construction. That's where the edge is tomorrow. And probably swaps too. You might have to swap
Think
a little
about
bit,
swaps.
especially with Tony Pollard. It's going to be huge.
Totally agree.
All right. We're binging a fucking tournament tomorrow.
Yep. All right, guys. Got 20 seconds here. We'll go to the full hour 30. If anybody else has a last minute question, now is the time. Looks like that's going to be it.
I got a question for you.
What's that?
You trying to get worked in ping pong?
Bro, I wish we could bring the webcams downstairs.
That'd be so lit.
We
don't have a fucking camera.
Yeah.
Ended off on that Kieran season.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, that's the post-stream tradition, post-pod tradition at this point. Like every time we finish recording, we go down, just a little decompression. And lately, I'm getting completely fucking smoked. I've lost like 8 straight like matches to this dude, which is crazy. Because I'm definitely a better ping pong player. So
everybody watching, we go down because we got a ping pong at this house, a ping pong table. We go down, we play like best of 5 sets because the game is like 3-4 minutes. Bet first to 21, win by 2, whatever. I've won 8 straight sets.
We got to put that to an end. We got to. and so that's going to be it, guys. Hope y'all are having a great night. And, last question here. I'm debating my flex. I have Amon-Ra, Pittman, Olave.
Definitely not Pittman.
Yeah. I mean, goddamn, dude, how stacked is your team that you're deciding between Amon-Ra and Olave?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough.
It is tough. I mean, probably Amon-Ra, right?
I think
Jarvis is back.
Yeah, I don't really have a lean. It's so close. I think both are great.
Yeah.
I mean, gun to my head, probably Amon-Ra. I think the target share probably will be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Good luck, everybody.
Yep.
Tomorrow. If you have any questions, just ask us in Discord.
Yep. No doubt.